BeastNet is brought to you by James Safety Services and in partnership with Beast OCR. Here we discuss all things OCR and fitness related, running, endurance, conditioning, rucking, and more. Welcome to BeastNet.
Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of BeastNet. This is Kyle, aka Hammer, and tonight we are interviewing Sandra Hanses from Renegade Rage out in the Tri-Cities. Hi Sandra, how are you?
Hi, Kyle. I'm doing good. How are you tonight?
I am extremely tired. My 2.5-year-old is very energetic, and I've been keeping her busy today. So.
I absolutely understand that. I've got 4 kids myself, and they've kept me busy through the years.
All right. Well, so to kick things off, how about, Sandra, if you would give us a little bit of background about yourself, what got you started into this, and what makes you tick?
Okay. Well, my name's Sandra Hanses. I'm the owner of Renegade Rage, obstacle course race out in Pasco, Washington. I've done, I don't know how many OCRs myself. Absolutely love them. Fell in love with the sport 6 years ago, I think now. And in the course of those 6 years, I've traveled all over the country doing OCRs. I've gone to World's Toughest Mudder 3 times. Done the Spartan Championships once, and just absolutely really like the challenge of the sport. As I said, I have 4 kids. My husband and I are farmers here in Pasco, and I actually have an associate's in welding, and I use that on the farm when we have equipment that breaks down and such like that.
That is very awesome.
Thanks. So what got me into kind of starting on Renegade was starting in OCRs. After having 4 kids, I found myself 50 pounds overweight and not knowing how to lose it. Like, I knew I needed to exercise, so I would go out back of the farm, on the back 40, and I would run, and I'd do that for about 2 weeks. After about 2 weeks, I hated it, and I'd stop. And then, 6 months later, I'd get myself out there again, and I'd run, and I'd hate it, and I'd stop. And I just kind of went through that cycle for a while. And then one day, a girlfriend of mine said, hey, there's a obstacle course race. It was actually the Zombie Dash. And she was like, there's this obstacle course race on the other side of the mountains. Let's go do it together. And I was like, all right, let's go do it. So I'd been wanting to do OCRs, but, when OCRs really first started, they were very, very intimidating looking. They had, the Army guys up on the obstacles. They were shouting at the participants, So I was always like, God, I want to do that. But whew, that's a little intimidating for me. So I just had a hard time going out and signing up. And so I went and did this Zombie Dash with my girlfriend. And wow, I just absolutely loved it. I loved the challenge of the obstacles. I loved finding that I could do some of them and surprised myself. And I found that I couldn't do some of them, and it made me mad. So I wanted to get better at them. And when that was over, I went to a gym and signed up for a gym because I wanted to start doing these. And I signed up with a personal trainer who was also into doing OCRs. So it turned out to be a good connection. I lost the weight. I lost a whole bunch of weight and met another personal trainer. So there was 3 of us that just kind of had this dream we found that we all 3 wanted to put on an OCR. And so we started to going to Tough Mudders together and Spartans together. And after about a year, we were like, we want to do this. And my husband and I are doers. Like, if we have something we want to do, we kind of just jump in with both feet without really thinking too far through it. So we were like, yeah, let's do it. And so the 3 of us got together, and with the support of my husband and my family, we created Renegade Rage. And
awesome.
Yeah, it really was. Our first year was, a lot of work because you're building a lot of obstacles. But also our first year we were out on another farm in the Tri-Cities. We weren't on my farm. So after that first year, the other farm said, hey, that was fun, but we don't think we want to do it again. And so Renegade Rage didn't have a home. And it was very easy for my husband and I to say, well, let's do it on our farm. And so we spent that second year rebuilding all the obstacles on our farm and establishing it there.
That's awesome. It's really cool that you find somebody that has the desire to go all in with you on such projects, and especially when you have the means to do it as far as like land is concerned. And like you said, some people definitely, they might want to not do it again, because I'm sure that definitely takes a toll on your land out there.
Yeah. It took a toll on their land, but also, it was a very rugged country, and so they were putting a lot of effort into machine rebuilding roads and stuff, and where we are, we already had the roads established, and so it just made a better fit to put Renegade on our farm, and it was very lucrative for us to be able to just do it there.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, I can see how ease of access would definitely turn people away if it was, turn left on this paved road as opposed to driving down this, gravel road that you have no idea where you're going. So,
yeah, a well-marked road is very valuable. Yep, so that's how we got started.
So tell me a little bit about, like some of the obstacles that you guys have on your courses there. Anything like in particular that that stands out? Like what's your favorite one?
I have a couple of favorites. It's funny. Every year I go to an obstacle course race, and I'll be like, ooh, this is my favorite obstacle. And then I'd come up to the next one, and I'd say, oh, this is my favorite obstacle. Because I loved all of them. On our course for Renegade Rage, there's a couple that stand out as the favorites. There's one that we created. We call them the over-under barrels. And they're big 55-gallon plastic barrels that we strung across a pond, and there's 5 or 6 rows of them. And when you're standing in the pond, the water is only up to about your waist, a little over your waist. But the barrels are sitting on top of the water, floating. And so to see over the barrel, you can barely peer over the top of the barrel. And the idea is that you have to go over the barrel and then under the next set of barrels and over the next set of barrels, over, under, over, under.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, and like if you're running elite on your own, it's quite the challenge to get yourself up and over that over barrel because it's so high. People really enjoy that, but what people really love is when they're running it non-competitively and they're with their friends and family and they're helping each other over these barrels, and they get you up over the barrel, and there's no other way about it. You're going in head first into the pond. And awesome. So I have many awesome pictures of participants going up and over the barrels and then nothing but their feet sticking up out of the water as they splash down in, and all their friends and family laughing behind them and just having a great time as they go over and under and over and under. That is definitely one of the biggest favorites of people that go out on our course. The other really big favorite that I could think of right offhand, I mean, we have a few that people really enjoy, but the 2 biggest ones is the over-under barrels, and then we put up a rope swing a couple of years ago. And this isn't just a little rope swing. It's not a, swing 10 feet and you're done. This rope swing goes across one of our ponds, and the pond is about 40 feet across. And so you get up on this platform on one side, and it's about 15 feet down to the water. And you have a hold of this rope, and you got to swing across, so you're going to drop down 15 feet, swing across, come back up 15 feet to the other side, and land on the other bankment. And you're standing there. This is a very tricky, obstacle for, you walk up and you think, oh, rope swing. This is going to be fun. I got this. And then you climb up onto that platform and you look down, it's 15 feet down, you're holding a rope and you're supposed to jump. It's like jumping off of, a small cliff jump. And people, it really freaks them out. It's part of that mental game, that you do in OCRs. And that's one of our biggest mental games at Renegade Rage is tipping yourself off of that platform and swinging across that pond, coming down, swinging hard, and then coming back up. The mental game of letting yourself go, and then the strength and the grip of holding onto that rope as you hit bottom and that centrifugal force pulling you down, and then coming back up to the top and landing it. People absolutely love that one. And we have a family heat where we let kids 8 and up run our course, and they get to go across that rope swing. And the kids just absolutely love it. They love going across that thing, and they nail it much more than adults do, because kids just have that lighter body weight and the grip strength from going across the monkey bars on the playground, and they get across that rope swing, and they nail it all the time. It's really fun to watch.
That is awesome. Yeah, and I think kids also have like this innate ability to just, face fear. I mean, they're fearless, basically. I say that about my daughter all the time, and, my parents said it about me, and I think, getting up there as an adult, especially as you get older, you're just like, oh man, what if I don't make this? Am I gonna get injured? Or, and that's a big thing, I think, with with myself. I'm not really necessarily afraid of heights. I'm just afraid of the result of falling from that height.
Right. Sure.
And so to me, it's really intimidating. And of course, I'm going to second guess myself, even if it is 15 feet. Kids, they're resilient. They could fall down and just get right back up and, dust themselves off and say, all right, let's keep going. Or I want to do it again. Or, I want to do it until I complete it.
Yeah, the kids out there are so much fun to watch because, there was this one year that we put this new obstacle in, and it was on the kids' course, and I was like, boy, I don't know about this. I think this is too tall for the kids. So when the kids come through, we're just going to divert them around. We're going to say, kids, you guys go around this obstacle. You're not doing this one. It's too tall for you. And so they set the kids out. And the kids are coming running, and they're just running at you in this big mob. And I'm standing in front of the obstacle getting ready to divert them, right? Like, kids, go around, go around. And they just come up to me, and they, go right around me and come right back together as a swarm, and they go up and over the obstacle, and they hit the ground, and they start running again. And I was standing there with my mouth open going, well, okay then. They killed it, and it was so much fun to watch them.
Without getting too much into it, I know that there's a lot of things nowadays that kids are so distracted by, whether it, be TV or video games, and a lot of them just kind of veg out on the couch. And, I was guilty of that as a kid and a teenager. And I'm kind of, now I'm wishing like I had gotten out and, been more physical. I mean, obviously I did play football a little bit in high school. But I mean, other than that, there really wasn't too much physically for me going on, just because I was one of those couch potatoes. And here I am, now I'm wondering why I never got into, being fit and all that. And I got to this point to where I was just like, I'm really sick and tired of being as heavy as I am. It got to the point to where I was just like, I can't tie my shoe without, being short of breath. And it was so annoying to me, and it really drove the point home that I needed to get into a better shape than round. I've lost, I think, over the past 2 years. I wouldn't even say it's mostly my doing. I credit my wife with this because she started cooking healthier for us, and then she really pushed me to work out a little bit harder. She was actually the one that kind of encouraged me to get into OCR. And so
that sounds like me and my husband.
And so I credit most of it to her. And so over the past 2 years, I lost a total of 80 pounds. And then
congratulations, that's awesome.
Thank you very much. And then I just recently put about 15 of that back on because we got married 2 months ago. And there's a lot of partying involved and stuff like that. So
yeah.
But yeah, now I'm really kicking myself in the rear end because now that's going to be another 10 or 15 pounds that I have to work off to get back where I was.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you in that. It comes off so slowly. It goes on so quickly. And that was one of the things that we really wanted to bring families out onto Renegade because how many events are there? How many fitness events are there where they let kids and parents do the fitness event together? Usually, a lot of times you have to separate because of ages or whatever, to make it fair for, a bunch of 8-year-olds working for something versus a bunch of 16-year-olds. But we wanted to, when I first started OCR, I really wanted to take my kids. And the Spartans, you had to be 16 and up, and my kids were 12.
Yeah.
And then they dropped the age to 14 and up, but then my kids were just turning, my oldest was turning 14. And so by the time my younger kids got up there, we had Renegade going, and I knew from the very beginning that we wanted to get families out on our course. And we were, as far as I know it, we were one of the first courses that let 8 and up come out onto the course and be out there with their parents. And we encourage the parents to do it with their kids and just go out and have a good time and run in the mud and show your kids what you can do and let your kids show you how to do some of the things that you can't do anymore.
Like you said, I've never heard of another OCR event that allows anything under than 14 or anyone under 14 attending. And I know because, there's such a big event, and I know it's probably more of an insurance liability thing.
Yeah.
But I think in all that, they kind of lose sight of what it is to have the family involvement. Sure, they've been doing like some of the kid events. I saw this year in Snohomish when we did the Spartan Super at the Equestrian Center. They had the kids race, and that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it wasn't really like, the all-inclusive where it's the parents and the kids running it together. And I think that really makes a huge difference. It's hard to get kids out of the house these days, I don't know if you have that problem or not, but
I do a little bit.
I do know.
I do a little bit. And that's one of the things I like about building Renegade on our farm is that my kids come out and I make them help me. And so some days that, we're like, hey, let's go burn the weeds off of this area of obstacle, and they're excited to do that because it's fire. But some days, it's like, let's go out. We have to mow the weeds, and they're just like, oh, we don't want to go do that. And, it's like, well, come on, it's what we do as a family, and we've been building that course as a family for a long time now.
That's awesome. And see, that's another thing too. There's so much sentimental value in the course itself because you're not only you but your family is putting in the basically the blood, the sweat, the tears into creating this OCR venue and event.
For sure.
That and I think that makes it a lot more inspiring, a lot more special. To involve parents and kids. And the general public.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually really cool. Wish I had the land to do that. And I want land just so I can build a go-kart track. And
right? We do that out on our farm, too. We do a lot of stuff out there. My husband has a huge family, and his parents broke the land from sagebrush into farming. And when they sold us the farm, they said, we want you to know that this farm may belong to you, but in spirit, we want you to remember that it belongs to this entire family. And so we've always taken that as part of our motto on our farm, and we hold huge events out on our farm. We used to have a money Easter egg hunt for all the grandchildren. There's like 25, 26 grandchildren. We'd have a huge Easter egg hunt. And then we'd call them track days, where we built a track out on one of the corners, and everybody'd bring an ATV or a motorcycle or an old truck they wanted to drive out on the course, and we would just spend an entire weekend driving all over that course and just kicking it up and having a really good time. We are just, like I said, we're doers, and if we're going to play hard, we're going to work hard and play hard. So we do it all as much as we can out there.
That is really cool. Yeah, see, and one of these days maybe, I'll have the means. It's definitely something I'm striving for, something I'm working for, and it's, I wouldn't say that it's in the works, but the plans are there, to be able to, have my own land and be able to do things like that. Because, I guarantee you if I had land to build on, I would be building obstacles, and I would be training and practicing.
Right.
And I think it would, and I think that kind of makes it really cool too. Like I'm sure that your kids, their friends are probably like, oh, that's really cool. You guys have all this stuff out on your land. Let's go play on it. And well, I don't know.
We just did actually. My 13-year-old just turned 14, and yesterday we had all of his friends out on Renegade, and we went out we have a 300-foot slide, and so we turned the slide on, and they were out there for 3 hours going up and down the slide all day long, just having a great time in the sun. Yeah, they thought they were in heaven, man. Yeah, it was fun to watch them.
I'd last about 30 minutes. I'm a redhead, so I burn very easily. I'd get about 30 minutes in that sun.
Yeah, so you have to wear long sleeves and long pants.
Yeah, I mean, unless I've got like copious amounts of sunblock on, then I'm good. I always make this joke that there should be SPF 2000. It should just be a solid block of sunblock, almost like a big stick of butter. There's been times where I've used almost a whole bottle just on myself, like a decent-sized container of sunblock, because I get burned so easily. Like I said, there's been times where, I've been out at the lake and I'm out there for an hour and I come home and I'm like a lobster. Like, I'm just so red and I feel like I've just been boiled to death.
Do you like tacos?
Yes!
Do you like having fun?
Yes!
Do you like to have tacos while having fun?
Yes!
Can you walk or run a mile?
Yes!
Good news! Beast's OCR Annual Taco Mile is back and happening now through the month of August. It's a virtual challenge that you can do anywhere. All you need is a place to safely walk or run and 4 tacos. Add in some friends and you have yourself an excellent, super fun time. For more information, head on over to beastchallenge.com and the Beast OCR Facebook group. That's beastschallenge.com.
Beast OCR, Taco Mile, sign up today.
Tell me a little bit about these toughest mudders. Like, I've seen the regular tough mudders, but I've never actually looked enough into them for, like, the toughest mudder. Like, what all does that entail?
Ooh, okay. So the toughest mudder, the world's toughest mudder. So they've got world's toughest mudder now, which is 24 hours. Then they've got the toughest mudder, which is 8 hours. And then they have tough mudder, which is your regular 10-mile tough mudder. And then they have the half, and then they have the kits, which they call the loopy or something, Fruit Loops or something like that. So the world's toughest mudder is 24 hours. They put you on a course. It's, some years it's been 10-mile course, but lately they've been doing 5-mile courses. And it's a 5-mile obstacle course that you go around as many times as you can in a 24-hour period.
Oh.
And what Tough Mudder does is they use it as their premier event for any new obstacles that they're coming out with that year that they're going to put out on their courses for the year. So people that go to World's Toughest Mudder, not only do you get to go out there for 24 hours, but you get to see all the new stuff that they're coming out with. And
That's
they
awesome.
also have a huge 40-foot cliff jump, which is my nemesis. It's absolutely my nemesis. If I never have to jump off of another cliff again in my life, I will be so happy. It's not my cup of tea.
Yeah,
and,
I was looking at the obstacles that they were putting out for this year's Tough Mudder, because myself, Don, and Mike are actually doing that one soon. I was looking at some of the obstacles on there, and they had an obstacle where they had all the shipping connexes stacked up, one on each. And I think it was like four high.
4,
and
yeah, that's probably the jump.
Like, yeah, and I saw that and I said, nope.
So where did you see that at?
That was actually, it was on a post in our Beast OCR group on Facebook.
Okay.
And somebody had posted the obstacles for this year, I guess. Okay.
Well, I mean, maybe they're going to do that, but I bet that was one that they're going to keep exclusively at World's Toughest Mudder. I don't know, but I mean, a 40-foot cliff jump seems kind of extreme for people that are just going to run a regular Tough Mudder. So I don't know, but the only place I've seen that is at World's, and it's, we wear a wetsuit because it's very cold at night. So a couple of years they did it in Las Vegas. A couple of years they've done it in Atlanta. Those are the two that I've gone 3 times. So I went twice in Vegas and once in Atlanta. And it was very cold at night, so everybody wears wetsuits. So when you're jumping off that 40-foot cliff, you're wearing a wetsuit that kind of protects your body a little bit, and then it's also very buoyant. So you hit that water, and that wetsuit pops you right back up to the top, and you're able to swim out. So I would be surprised if Tough Mudder put that in their regular events.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because, I mean, the way it looked at, the way I guess it was written out or something like that, had said that these were the obstacles for 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, it very well could be just in the world's toughest mudder, and it just happened to be lumped in with all the other photographs, you know, of their other
Yeah,
obstacles.
who knows?
So, yeah, who knows? And, I mean, that's definitely, like I said, that's definitely one that intimidated the heck out of me. I was like, yeah, I don't know if I'm ever going to do that one, ever.
Yeah.
So.
I've done it several times, and I tell you what, if I do another World's Toughest Mudder, I'm going to do everything I can not to have to do that. Like at the second Vegas Worlds that I did, there was a penalty obstacle. So instead of jumping off the cliff, you could go down. You had to go through a little canyon, and it was like an extra mile of running that you had to do for skipping the cliff jump. So at that one, I was like, wow, a mile is a lot, you know, and so I jumped. But at this point, I'm so done jumping off cliffs that I think I'd really consider that extra mile. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Worlds is very intensive. Like, you're training for that quite a bit, like you would a marathon. The first time I actually did a Worlds, I signed up 3 months before the event. So I had really no training, and I just jumped into training, and I went, and I'm proud of how I did. I did 40 miles in that 24 hours, but boy, when I was done, my body felt the lack of training. And so the second time I went with a team, and we really put the training in, and we killed it, knocked out 50 miles. So the training is really important, you know, just taking care of your body before any big endurance event, whether it be a marathon or a big OCR or any ultra or whatever it is that you're going to do, you know, just jumping into it, you're kind of asking to possibly really hurt your body. So I just always recommend that people don't do what I did, you know, get some training in and work your body up to that.
All right. So tell me a little bit about what motivates you, you know, to get out there and put all this on. Is it the community? Is it the camaraderie of the, you know, the OCR, all the people it brings in, you know, building these strong bonds with all these, you know, you get strangers and stuff that come out and do your events. What is it that overall motivates you to do all this?
Everything that you just said really is, it's all in a great big pot together. I mean, I really want to inspire people to just take care of their bodies, and a little bit of fitness can go a long ways in making sure that you feel good as you age in life. And people that aren't doing it, you know, I hurt for them when I see them at 50 and they come see me in the gym. I'm a personal trainer, and so they come see me and they say, you know, I've been sitting at a desk for the last 20 years. I hurt. And I just want to say, oh, you know, just a little bit of fitness goes a long ways throughout your life. So camaraderie, yeah, absolutely. The camaraderie in building an OCR is amazing, and camaraderie while participating in an OCR is amazing. I mean, both right there. Participating in OCRs, I have met a lot of people that I'm still friends with, you know, on Facebook. And, you know, you don't necessarily see them until you go to another OCR, and then you see them again and you get to talk to them. And, you know, it's that community aspect of just like going to a small gym and always seeing the same people in the classes that you take. I love OCRs for that. And I really like Tough Mudder for that, because Worlds has that kind of camaraderie. We have a big Facebook page where everybody gets on there and chats about the next World's Toughest Mudder. And so that's really a lot of fun. When building an obstacle course race, the camaraderie has been really a big bonus, because like I said, you know, my family's out there with me. My husband is a huge support. There's no way I could do it without him. You know, if he didn't support me pulling all these obstacles onto our farmland, using our farm equipment to put up obstacles, you know, working harvest around Renegade Rage at times when needed, you know, the things that he does to bend over backwards for me to be able to do Renegade Rage is really amazing. He's just a super great guy for that. And so he's a ton of help. My kids are a bunch of help. But also, you know, like I said, my husband has this huge family, and so many of them, the nieces, nephews, and my in-laws, and all these people come out and volunteer on the course to help me make it happen. And anybody that's run an OCR, you know that those volunteers are vital. But to really get an appreciation of it, you've got to put on a huge event where you have to have volunteers. Because pulling volunteers in is not actually that easy. It takes a lot of effort to get people to realize that, hey, if you come volunteer for me for 6 hours, I'll give you a free race. And a lot of people, their time is valuable, and they don't want to give up those 6 hours for a free race. They'd rather just buy the race. And so the people that do come out and volunteer for us are people that end up staying friends. And they come back year after year. And over those years, we've gotten to know more and more people. And then as they come back year after year, they'll call me up a couple weeks before. Hey, Renegade's coming up. Do you need any help setting up the course? Yes, absolutely I do. And then anybody that ever calls, I try never to refuse anybody. And I never have refused anybody. I might forget that somebody called, but I always tell them, come out. We're going to be setting up on this day and this day. And they just come out and they bring their lunch and they bring something to drink, and we put up obstacles and really build a team of people that has helped me through the years put on Renegade Rage. And without them, I wouldn't be able to make it happen. And so I always try to show genuine appreciation to my volunteers because they're so important.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I've noticed over the years doing these that, there are some volunteers that, I don't know how many times they've volunteered, but sometimes you can always tell, like, I wouldn't say always, but sometimes you can tell when it's like a first-time volunteer because sometimes they seem overwhelmed, and they don't necessarily know what exactly or how exactly they're supposed to be doing what. And then, you've got like your seasoned volunteers that come out, and, I've seen quite a few volunteers that I recognize from multiple races, and, I'll see them and I'm like, hey, good to see you again, and I think that's really an integral part, in the OCR community itself. It's just having, like you said, having those volunteers because, if you didn't, you'd just be doing it yourself. And, I imagine it's already very labor intensive. But having to do it solely by yourself or even just with your family, it would get very tiring, I would imagine. And I'm sure it probably already is, even with volunteers. But, it is. Go ahead. No, I was going to say it is. It is exhausting. And after every Renegade, we always take a step back and go, whew, that was a lot of work for one morning. Yeah. Because everybody comes out at 8 a.m. and they're done with the course by 1 o'clock, and then we're cleaning up again. And we worked all summer for this. Yeah, and that's another thing that we've been, myself and Mike and Don, we've talked about kind of branching out and getting in touch with some of these other local OCRs around the Pacific Northwest, and kind of getting the word out there, because the more your product and the more your name gets out there, the more people know about it, and the more attendees appear, or the more people attend the races, possibly more volunteers. And that's one thing that I've actually been thinking about doing a lot in the coming years, is volunteering a lot of my time, not necessarily so much for the free races, but I know that a lot of time and preparation goes into these things, and I've always considered myself kind of a team player. So, getting in and kind of helping out, gives you a much better appreciation for what it is that people are doing. So I find it very important to kind of stress the volunteer thing. Like I said, you see some people that get out there and that's their first time volunteering and they kind of get overwhelmed. And then, like I said, you see the repeat volunteers, they're the returning volunteers, and they absolutely love, what they're doing, because they build this. Because it's fun. Basically it's fun, and they build this skill set for motivating racers even when they're not currently racing.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I'd love to volunteer at races. I think it's so much fun. And I think that you're absolutely right. A seasoned volunteer versus a first-timer volunteer, you know, those seasoned volunteers, I can put out on my course anywhere. I can be like, I need you at that obstacle, and they know exactly where to go. They know what the obstacle is. They know what to do. And that first-time volunteer, you know, I have a sheet written up with instructions for every obstacle on my course. And so when I get a first-time volunteer, I can hand them that sheet and say, okay, here's what you need to know, because I'm going to tell them what they need to know, but they're going to forget half of it because it's their first time and they don't know. So I've just found that one night I sat down and I wrote out one for every obstacle. I have about 30 obstacles on my course. So it took a long time, but I got them all written out, and I just hand those to those first-time volunteers because I found that to be extremely beneficial in helping them understand what they are to be doing out there.
I've said it for a long time, and I continue to say it. Anytime I do like a post about OCR, or anytime we go out to the races, even if it's not doing a post, you know, we make an effort to, you know, thank the volunteers. You know, any volunteers that we see out there handing out water, you know, any of them that are standing by the obstacles, you know, giving support. Any of them that are just, you know, say they're at the merch table or they're at the T-shirt table handing out medals and T-shirts, you know, any one of them, it doesn't matter their role. You know, we try to extend our thanks and say, hey, look, you know, thank you so much for volunteering. Thank you for giving us your hard-earned time to coming out here and giving back to us so that we can do this. And we appreciate the fact that you come out here and you give it to us on these, you know, whether it be beautiful days, rainy days. I especially love the faces of the volunteers on rainy days. Those are the ones that get me the most, because they're out there and they look so
and they're still smiling.
But they are, and you could just see, like, sometimes you can see the distress in some of their eyes, like, why did I volunteer for this? But, you know, it comes down to the love of the community, the love of the sport, of doing OCR. And, you know, I can tell you, I've been through some really nasty cold races.
Volunteering so have I.
And volunteering, to me, I don't think is going to be any worse than that. So, yeah,
OCR is, you know, they have this amazing community and camaraderie that just hooks you in. Like, I mean, the race, the challenge of the race is one thing. That hooks you in as it is. But then that community and the camaraderie about the people that you meet. And I think what I really love about OCRs is that in this mission to inspire people to take care of their bodies by just doing some fitness, anything, is that in OCRs, anyone can go do it and feel like a rock star after. Because we can all at least crawl over a net or crawl through some mud, have a great time, and come out going, wow, that was fun, and I'm a rock star because, you know, even if I only got 3 rungs on the monkey bar, hey, I got 3 rungs on the monkey bar, and I haven't done that since I was 8, you know. Seeing people go over obstacles and finish an OCR who never thought that they could do it is one of my favorite things about putting on Renegade Rage, because, you know, when they cross the finish line, like I said, you feel absolutely amazing and you're on this high for a good week afterwards. And they realize that they can do more than they thought possible. And I love to see people getting that passion for OCRs. Like, they get done with Renegade Rage and they're just the biggest smile on their face and, I can't believe I did it, you know. And one of my favorite things is to go out on the course during Renegade. And that's extremely difficult for me to do because, you know, as the organizer of the event, you're in the central hub area and you're taking care of all the fires that are, you know, need to be put out. And so every year I try to get out on the course for at least 30 minutes, and we drive through really quick, and I get to see people struggling to like go over the top of an obstacle. And you see all their friends and family are right there helping them over it and encouraging them and talking them through their fear of being up on the wall or jumping on the rope swing and going across, or, you know, trying to get across the rings, or the balance beams that we have over the ponds. And those bonds that are created are so strong and long-lasting. I absolutely love watching that part of Renegade Rage.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. Like you said, the bonds that that it creates. So yeah, my first OCR was a Warrior Dash. Rest in peace, Warrior Dash.
Right.
They put on one in, I think this one was in Seattle, but we went to this one, and it was my brother-in-law, my wife. We weren't married at the time, and this was actually, like I said, the one that she had kind of encouraged me to go to, and her brother was kind of pushing me to do the same. And there was an obstacle there that I did not want to do, and it's not an A-frame, but it almost like had the shape of, it was like a barn-shaped type, and you climb up the side of it, and then you have to walk over the top, and it's all just, it wasn't balance beams, but you had to step from one beam to the next. And, you could see all the way down to the ground. I think it was like 20 feet maybe.
Yes,
15 or 20
I
feet.
remember this obstacle. Yes, I remember this one.
And, and I was just like, no, I don't really want to do that. But as I got up to it, I said, this was something that, I did because I do like to challenge myself. I do like to do things that, you don't normally do on a regular basis. So in approaching that obstacle, I thought, okay, here we go. This is, what if I fall off? And all of that went out the window the second I hit the obstacle. The second I touched that obstacle, that all went out of my head, and it became, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get over this obstacle. I'm going to crush it. And when I get done with it, I'm going to feel great. And sure enough, I got up on top of that thing, and sure, it looked really high to me. Sure, standing down on the side of it, it really doesn't look that high. But when you get up there, So getting across the obstacle was probably the hardest part for me, was just, seeing the area underneath me, the ground all the way through the planks and stuff. But once I got to the other side and got down, I thought, insanely enough, I kind of want to go back and do that obstacle again. So, and after that, like you said, you get this uplifting feeling. It's almost like a runner's high. And it's just, to me, I get so caught up in that feeling, and it's almost like an addiction to that feeling. You just
Yes.
You want to keep feeling that, and you just want to keep going. And I can totally see how that makes these long-lasting impressions on people, and it did, and it had a very long-lasting one on me. The second we got done with that race, I was like, all right, when's my next one? When are we doing this again?
Yes, it's like a gym addiction. You just keep going back.
Like what you hear? Make sure and subscribe and review us on your favorite podcast platform. Be sure to find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. If you're using YouTube, please click the little red subscribe icon, then click the little bell for notifications of future episodes. And if you could, give us a thumbs up.
All right, so what would you say to others that are on the fence about maybe trying out OCR or any of your events?
I would say to do a little bit of training, do a little bit of running, do some shoulder work, hang from a bar a little bit, test out the monkey bars at a playground, and then just go do it. Don't let yourself get intimidated by it at all, because I always tell people for Renegade, you can go around any obstacle you don't want to attempt, or if you attempt it and you don't get over it, it's not the elite heat. You're not going to get penalized for it. We're going to say, hey, good job, thanks for trying. Do you want to try again, or are you going to move on to the next thing? Nobody's sitting there going, oh, you didn't make it across. You're terrible. Nobody's saying that. People on these courses are so encouraging, and if you can't do it yourself, there's always somebody there that wants to give you a hand and help you do it because somebody gave them a hand once before, and they want to pass that on. So I say absolutely go do it. Don't get intimidated by it because it's so much fun to do. And you'll find out that you can do way more than you thought you could.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And, and that's one of the things that that Mike touches on quite a bit too. And I think that goes back to the whole community, the community and camaraderie thing is that, you're not doing these races alone. You're always going to meet somebody on the course that wants to help you overcome that obstacle. I know we just did the terrain race up in Monroe. We got to I think it was like a 7-foot wall, But, we approach this wall, and I'm a little bit in front of my team, and I get to the wall by myself, and, and there's this guy that had already cleared the wall, but he came back around because he saw there were people struggling to even just, attempt getting on the wall. And, here he is like, hey, do you need help, brother? Or, hey, you can step up here on my leg or on my shoulder. Does anybody need help over? And so, in doing that, you're always going to find somebody at these races that wants to help. Complete and total stranger, it doesn't matter. These people are there. It's just a huge family. It's like the cousin that you knew that you had at the family reunion. Everybody gets together, and it's just one big muddy, rainy party where everybody's just doing a bunch of physical fitness and jumping over obstacles and stuff. And
I agree.
So yeah, and so that was actually kind of a cool thing for me, learning over the years, was that I think the first couple of months that I had been doing these things, I was like, oh no, I'll try it myself. I'm doing, I appreciate it, but no, I'll do it myself. And I wanted to do these things myself, but that's a part of me that I had to basically get rid of and say, look, there's going to be times I need help to get over these obstacles. And that's the beautiful thing about this community, is that there's always going to be somebody there. It doesn't matter if they're not the same height. You could tower over them by 2 or 3 feet, and, you could be struggling with an obstacle, and it doesn't matter that you're, way heavier than they are or way lighter than they are. They're still going to offer you that help, and they're still going to want you to accomplish that obstacle just like everyone else. And that's the one thing that I truly love about this stuff.
Yeah, and what I've found also is I have not come across an OCR elite who isn't willing to take a moment and help somebody else over an obstacle. You may not see it so much in the sprints or the supers or maybe even the beasts, because those elites are so far ahead of everybody. But when we're out at World's Toughest Mudder, you see those elites on the course with you because they're laughing you. Those guys are doing 100 miles to my 50. So for every lap, they lap me once. Yeah. And so you see them out there, and they're good, kind people, and they stop and they help people over. And they can't take the time to help 10 people over, but they'll get help over an obstacle, and then they'll turn around and they'll reach down and help the guy behind them, and maybe the guy behind that. And then they need to move on. So then they move on. But, it really speaks to the quality of the people that they take that time to turn around and reach down to the next person to help them out. Taylor Overmiller showed up at Renegade Rage this year, and I was super excited about it. And I was just thinking, as I was talking about elites, I was thinking of him. He's just such a nice, humble, great guy. He came through and blasted our course and did such a great job. And he was just so humble about it. So nice. He gave us a great review, which I really appreciated from him. And we just really enjoyed having him out there because he's just a good, solid, all-around athlete.
Like we had talked about earlier, that's really important to the community, and having your OCR out there and getting your name out there, that you have these notable figures come out to your event and actually run it, give you a great review, and it helps get your name out there so that other people know about it too. And, hopefully, and hopefully that brings in a lot more attendees, even just spectators, because this year's spectator could be next year's attendee. They just come out to watch, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, man, I really kind of want to do this. Because who knows, they could have been completely and totally unaware of the OCR scene, and then they go out just to kind of observe, one of their friends doing it, and then next thing you know, they're out doing it too.
Right, or they're completely intimidated by it. And they decide, hey, I'm just going to go watch and see. And then they see other people that are in the same physical shape as them, and they're like, oh, I can do this too.
Yeah, that's exactly right, because, that's the way I felt too. I did a little bit of looking online, like, sure. And then it really didn't matter until I went out to that first race. And after the first race, I was hooked. And
that was it, right?
And it
that
really
was
is.
it.
Yeah, definitely. That was it. It's very contagious, is what it is. You see the energy, you see the accomplishment, the pride that people take in the fact that they've just done something that they don't normally do, something that pushed them outside of their comfort zone, something that they can, hold their head up high about. They can go to their friends and their family and they can say, hey, check this out, not to pat myself on the back, but, I just did this and I feel really good. Come out with me next time we do it. I've got quite a few friends that have never done an OCR event. I'm trying to get them to come up here. I'm actually trying to get them to move up here, one of which is actually going to move up here pretty soon. But his fiance, when I said, hey, I wanted to see if you wanted to do one of these events with me, she was all about it, not for her, but for him. She was like, yes, get him off of this couch, get him out there and doing something physical, please. I want him to get off the couch. I honestly think he'll really like it. He's not one for getting dirty too much, but I think once he gets out there and actually gets in the thick of it, he'll absolutely love it. Because he's like me. He likes to challenge himself. Usually not in the physical department, but he likes to challenge himself. And I'm hoping that maybe I can get him out here. And if I can get him out here, maybe I can get some of our other friends out. And that, to me, it builds the community even more. Maybe they'll make more friends and meet new people. And before you know it, thousands of people that do this. And then, we have a team, we all register and we have like 1,000-person team. That'd be great.
Well, I would like to get on your team. I think that would be a lot of fun. I like to just go out. I've competed before, but, the competing is fun, but then always I go back and I run the race just for the fun of it with friends. And I would love to run with you guys. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Our thing is, no matter what, we like to have fun. To us, it's about pushing ourselves, supporting each other. We don't necessarily have to be in a competitive wave. Like for us, we like the open wave because we can take our time. We can kind of sit back and size up an obstacle and kind of gauge how we're going to go about navigating certain obstacles. We can stick together, support each other, build each other up. A lot of the time we find ourselves, I wouldn't say necessarily bringing up the rear, but we're not necessarily so concerned about personal records. We're out there for the love of it, for the love of actually doing this. And our thing is we challenge ourselves. And I think every race we try to push ourselves a little bit more. This past race at Terrain was my first time on multi-rig. And I was kind of, it's not really a high thing. For me, it's the shimmying yourself up a pole kind of at an odd angle. And for me, climbing has never been my thing since about age 12. And so, when I was a kid, I could climb all day long, but now, not so much. But, multi-rig, that was my first time on it. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try this. And my brother-in-law was right there with me. He was like kind of trying to give me pointers and stuff. Sadly, I got a thigh cramp like right in the middle of it. And I said, nope, I'm done with this one. So our thing is we like to hang out together and do it at each other's pace.
Yes.
We're not so much concerned with getting a personal record time. We want to have fun. We want to finish. We want to get out there and push ourselves, but we don't want to leave each other in the dust and say, oh, hey, I'm just going to run ahead, 3 miles. I'll see you when I see you.
Yeah.
Because, we know that we're each other's support. We're each other's backbone. We are going to be the ones that get each other through this. And so to us, it's not about how fast we do it. It's just about doing it.
Yeah. To me, that's the point of being on a team. I used to compete before it got really competitive, and I would place, top 20, and I was pretty proud of that. And then all of a sudden, I went to a Spartan one day, and, I was in competitive heat, and what's this age group thing they got going on? And, wow, where'd all these women come from? And I ran the competitive heat, and they dusted me. And ever since then, I was like, well, you have to put in the work to really compete, or I'm just going to take a step back and just really enjoy my time out here. And I'm not a fast runner. It's not my forte. And so I just go now to take my time and have fun, meet people, have a good time, like the Worlds that I went to. This last time I went, I didn't go to try to break any records or anything. I just went to really slow down and enjoy the people that I met on the course. And I really enjoyed myself doing that.
To kind of touch back on that, in last week's episode, I had talked with Lorenzo, and he was saying that had he not slowed down at one section of his race, he would have missed the view that he had from his location. I think that's another part of it too. Some of these locations that you go to these events, they have them, obviously in Hawaii, everything is going to be scenic. But, you go to Montana or Tahoe or Utah, the views that you get during some of these events are just completely and totally indescribable. You can't describe them. You just have to see them. You have to be there to witness it. Otherwise, you won't understand. And like you said, you get into this competitive mindset that all you see, it's like tunnel vision. You just see the next person in front of you and you just want to pass them. And
that's right.
You want to be so competitive, and you get this tunnel vision that you forget to take in the outside world and experience the event for what it actually is. I mean, sure, yeah, there's the competitive events, but that's why I like to run the open waves, because I get to take in that scenery. I get to take in the environment and what's going on around me, and I get
learn to appreciate the people that you're with.
Out.
Yeah.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, do you have any shout-outs or anything that you'd like to put out there?
I don't have a whole lot of sponsors right now. My one big sponsor is right from the Tri-Cities, and it's On Scene Medical. They have come out and really taken a load off of my shoulders. They set up a big tent. They have paramedics there, EMTs. They have rescue rigs. They have the works right there at our base camp, and if we have the unfortunate incident where somebody gets hurt, they're able to go right out and help the people out and bring them back to the base camp and take care of them. So On Scene Medical has just been amazing for me, and without them, my stress level would be so much higher. So I always have to give them a shout out. Yeah, they've been great, and I just can't appreciate them enough. They've been really great partners in this.
Well, that is awesome. So yeah, we're definitely trying to branch out and get more into some of the local OCRs, because everybody does the Spartan, everybody does Tough Mudder. Up in Canada, everybody does Ex-Warrior, and that was kind of a big thing for us, is we kind of wanted to focus a little bit more on local OCRs, getting people's names out, and actually attending these events, talking to race directors, participating in events with local OCRs, because we've got a lot of people that have started out with OCR, but then they branch off into other things like rucking, endurance events, marathons. So our big focus now is going to be basically getting out, going to these local OCRs, putting the word out, and honestly, I look forward to attending the next Renegade Rage.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate that you guys are batting for the smaller companies here, because marketing is a big challenge for us. It's expensive to try to get your name out there, and it's just a struggle for the small guy. And so, we try to build good, solid obstacles. We try to change it up every year, at least one new obstacle, if not 2 or 3 every year on our course. So from the little guy, thank you guys. We really appreciate you guys trying to put the name out there for us.
Yes, you are definitely welcome. And like you had said, you try to change up your course. Like I've noticed over the past couple of races, I did the Super and the Sprint in Seattle, and it was at the same location. And then I have the Beast coming up in September, and that's also at the same venue. So you attend a lot of these big-name races, and they're always at the same venues, and you know the terrain, you know the layout, you know what things you're going to encounter, and they usually have like a similar setup. And and that was one of the big things for me. It was like, okay, yeah, I know I'm going to be doing the Beast in September, but I've been to the Equestrian Center in Snohomish, so I know what terrain, I know what, not really obstacles, but I know like the layout, I know what things I'm going to encounter. So for me, that it kind of lessens the challenge for me mentally, because I already kind of know what to expect. And that's a big thing that we like about the smaller OCRs, is that they strive to change it up and make it different every single time. But that's one thing that we're, like I said, we're definitely focusing on is we really want to help get the smaller OCR names out, get more attendees to those, because we want to see a variety in OCR. You know, like I said, we do a lot of these big events, but we're very familiar with how they're laid out. And the smaller OCRs put on a different course each year, and they change up the obstacles, or, you know, they come up with some other obstacle that no one's ever thought of before, and you're just like, wow, that's completely and totally different from anything I've ever done. That's going to keep me coming back, the challenge and the variety.
My husband built an obstacle this year that was one that I hadn't seen before. So it was a fun challenge to get up there and work this big giant wheel that he made, and it was fun to watch a lot of people get up there and try it that hadn't done something like that before. We're our little design team, you know, we get together and go, guess what we're thinking about doing now.
Oh, that's awesome. See, I could definitely see, you know, how one would take pleasure in finding an obstacle that definitely is different, you know. I look at some of these obstacles sometimes and I think, man, how sadistic do you have to be to come up with something like this?
And we're always watching, you know. You get ideas off of other things that you see. So my husband was looking at something just the other day we got an idea off of, and I was talking to him about it and how we can change it to make it our own thing. And it's so much fun to think of ways that you can try and challenge people on the course. Because we really like to challenge everybody from the elite racer to the first timer. And we really want the elite racer to be challenged, but also the first timer to be able to go out there and attempt something and possibly even get across it without failing, so that they can feel like a rock star also.
All right. Well, Sandra, it has definitely been a pleasure to talk with you tonight. Like I said, I definitely look forward to attending the next Renegade Rage event.
Oh, my gosh. You know. I look forward to having you guys out there, Kyle. That'll be so awesome.
Yes.
It's July 11th next year.
Come July, I'm going to put this on the calendar.
Yeah, July's open right now. Put it in.
Yep, it is in my calendar. Boom.
Boom. Got it. Well, thank you so much, Kyle, for chatting with me tonight.
Of course. Thank you so much for being on BeastNet. And, you know, like
thank you, BeastNet. This was pleasurable.
Yes, and we look forward to seeing you next year at next year's Renegade Rage.
Great. Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook. Like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. This show is brought to you by James Safety Services in partnership with Beast OCR. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you like to hear. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or at beastocr.com.